don't do most. Most of us only spend maybe 2 weeks on vacation a year. Well, what that tells me is the other 50 weeks, you're not really planning. So here's the example. When you plan for a trip, you have a budget. You know exactly how much money you're planning on spending: 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 1,000. And within that budget, you're going to find lodging. You're going to use TripAdvisor. You're going to go to all type of websites, and you're going to try to find the best quality hotel within your means. You're going to look at the food options. You're going to look at the reviews. Do they wash their hands? How many people have been complaining about this or that? We're doing this stuff already, but we're applying it into 2 weeks instead of the 52 weeks. My goal today is to try to give you information that will help you apply the same type of planning you do for vacation in your other 50 weeks. You do it for clothing. Is it going to be cold? Is it hot? What's the latest trend in fashion? The fashionable clothings. I remember when I was growing up, there was trends back in the day. You had FUBU, then came Rockaware, Sean John, Pele, all of those different things. Well, what I'm telling you is, just like you were planning for that, you can plan for this. What tie should I wear? What does this color represent? Red, power. Should I wear it at this occasion? Should I wear it at this occasion? We're going to talk about that in the future. Weather and entertainment. We're doing all of these things. The goal today is to talk about the F of the acronym, finding information. Finding information. So when we talk about finding information, there's multiple factors into what you should be finding information for. In life, you have choices. And with every choice, and with every decisions, there's reactions to that, right? There's consequences. So when we talk about occupation, we're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about education. We're going to talk about wealth and finance. We're going to talk about health and where you can find reliable sources of information, and then how you can utilize that information to inform your decision-making process. So when we talk about occupation, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a federal agency, is paid through your tax dollars. It gives us wage data. It gives us the growth rate of the occupation that you're choosing. So say you want to go into construction engineer. You may want to be a political science professor. You may want to do this. You can actually go to this website, bls.gov, and you can actually click on some of the drop-down levers, and you will find one that says wage data, and it can go by geographical location. And we'll go through this in the future, but today we're just talking about finding information. Where can you find it? And then we're going to talk about how you should utilize that information. You can also get geographical data talking about the demand for the occupation. So say you're a counselor and you're saying, I want to make this much money and I want to have job security. Well, actually in the BLS interactive map, it'll tell you the need, the demand for this position or this occupational position. What I advise people to do when they do this is I ask them to look at that information and plug it into your formula to see where you should locate yourself. Oftentimes people stay in a location where that occupation ain't really present, right? It's not really known. It's not prominent. Now, of course, some people say, well, I can create it, and if I do, they will come. Research doesn't really show that. Research shows that you need to be evidence-led, right? Everything needs to be on research. And in fact, when you went to school for your formal education, right, you got a bachelor's or a master's degree, everything they taught you is to base it on research. Also, each year, if you didn't know, the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, also come out with an occupational outlook handbook. And in that handbook, they're projecting. So they tell you, if you work in customer service, this is the growth rate. Here are some of the threats. Artificial intelligence. These are the companies that has already said they're switching from humans to computers or machine learning. All of this is here to inform your decision making so that you can make better choices. When we talk about real estate, Real estate, you can go to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is the ones that controls the interest rates. They either raise interest rates or they lower interest rates. And they tell you, they have these FOMC meetings and they release the reports. And you can read this in real time. And they're telling you ahead of time, this is what we're thinking about doing. We're going to raise the interest rate 25 basis points over this point of time. You have Blackstone, which is a private entity that is a firm that deals with real estate. They're one of the largest real estate firms out there investing. They're buying up all type of single family homes, but they also gives out economic outlook and reports. And they're trying to inform their investors and just the general population, people who wants to invest in real estate. You have the U.S. House of Representatives Subcommittee on Housing and Insurance. If you never watched the hearing before in your life, I recommend you do so. You can Google it and you can actually type this name in, and they have their own YouTube web page. They actually have their own website as well, and you can watch the live hearings. If you remember the pandemic happened, these are the things that I was doing. I wanted to know, what is the United States going to do to make sure homeowners are safe? Homeowners won't lose their assets during this once in 100 years pandemic, right? What are they going to do? Well, these are the things that you can do to prepare yourself and to make better choices for your future. When we talk about education, you have the Department of Education's college scorecard. It amazes me when I ask people, students and just adults and individuals who went to college, and some of them feel kind of like they didn't get their bang for their buck. The question I ask them is, did you use this scorecard? This scorecard tells you the graduation rate percentage. It tells you how much the college costs. It tells you the pros and cons of each higher learning institution. It tells you exactly in real time the things you can utilize to make better choices. Another thing for elementary and secondary schools, it's the State Department's educational websites. If you live in Florida, you can go to the Florida Department of Education. If you live in Illinois Department of Education, Virginia Department of Education. They actually rank their schools. They rate their schools. They tell you the pros and cons. They tell you the things that you should look for, the things you should think about if you're going to move into that area. These are the things that you can utilize to not elevate just your life, but your children's lives and make better choices. When we talk about wealth and finance, here are some of the things that I look at and the things you should consider. Goldman Sachs research. Did you know Goldman Sachs, a private entity, actually have a research department where they look at economic data and provide projections? Why are they doing that? They want individuals that are investing in Goldman Sachs or are banking with Goldman Sachs to be informed, to make better decisions. Oftentimes we go out there and spend money at the wrong time. You buy cars at the wrong time. They're trying to give you insight onto when to buy cars, when to ask for a loan. They'll tell you right now, right into your face, that we're not going to give out a lot of loans in this area. They'll just say it in their reports. Oftentimes we go and we're trying to get loans and we're saying, why are we being denied? It's because we're not informing ourselves. So Goldman Sachs research is a great resource. The Federal Reserve is another one. The Federal Reserve, again, they not only they just don't worry about pricing of products and interest rates, but they also look at job stability, right? They have to make sure that there's not mass unemployment that takes place in the United States. So they tell you in real time. They're the ones that works with the jokes reports, and they come out and they say, based on the data we're seeing, we're going to do quantitative easing, right? We're going to make it easier for people to get a loan because they actually provide financial backstops to these private entities to make sure that they give out loans. What am I telling you? You got to learn how the game works. You need to be aware and informed of the information that's out there. And then we can talk about the last one here is JP Morgan Economic Outlook. JP Morgan is the largest bank in the world. I'll say it again. JP Morgan Chase is the largest bank in the world. it's important that you understand what they're seeing around the world globally, because that's going to tell you how you should approach utilizing the tool of money in your situations. All of this information is readily accessible, is free for us today to utilize. When we talk about health, you have the Department of Health and Human Services. During COVID, they were giving out information after information. Many people were only looking at the CDC, which is also up here, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. But I recommend that you also consider them. They're the ones that's looking at very unique, very detailed, detailed, granular level of data. They're getting into the communities, trying to figure out what is affecting the African American community. When we talk about diabetes, when we talk about obesity, how can we prevent some of these things from happening? If you're looking for grants, this is one of the organizations that give grants out when it comes to healthcare. It's HHS. These are the things that you can utilize to elevate your life and make better choices. I could go on and on and on about all of the different resources that are available, but I figure I'll just share just a few more. If you are a person who always entertain themselves and watch 32 football teams or all of the college football games, what I'm telling you is, just like there's a lot of NFL teams, there's a lot of think tanks, there's a lot of resources out there that you can utilize. The Brookings Institution, the Ryan Corporation, the Acton Institute, AEI, American Enterprise Institute, the Hustons Institute, Economic Policy Institute, the Heritage Foundation, the Economic Club of Washington, D.C. They all come out with articles, they all come out with press releases, but for some of us, we don't like to read. So guess what? They all have YouTube videos. So if you're a person who say, I want to watch something today, but I don't want to read about it, this is your opportunity to educate and to inform yourself. Again, there's more resources out there than there are NFL football teams. My advice for you is to find information that will better your life. So when we talk about how to utilize information, so we're talking about, okay, we found some information. How can this information better me? What can I do with this information? I want to break this down into 3 categories. So the first one is preparing for the future. When you get information, you should look at your life and say, how can this benefit me today, tomorrow, and for my future? It's not good enough to have the information and then say, oh, shucks, I messed up back then. That's past tense. That's called regret. What I want you to start doing is, when you see that you messed up, learn the lesson from it and then ask, how can I apply this for my life in the future? Remember, we're trying to become aware of the trends and partake in action to best navigate through the future. You remember when I told you in the first F.I.T.S Seminar that you need to be future smart? Well, that hasn't changed. None of that has changed. The question is, have you changed to become more predictive and adaptive for the future? So once you find information, you should say, this information should prepare me for the future. Second category, adapting to changes. Oftentimes people don't want to change. They don't want to grow. They don't want to improve themselves. The difference is, what they want to do is complain. They want to complain about, why are we changing? Well, you need to understand that the world is constantly evolving. Praise God. That's a good thing. I remember a point in time where we didn't have cell phones. And I tell my kids this often, that when I needed to call somebody, I had to ask my parents for permission because they had a house phone and I couldn't walk away with this device because it was connected to the wall. So I had to have my conversations in public. Well, that made me a better public speaker, because now when I ask individuals to speak to me face to face, they have a hard time because they can have closet conversations. They can take their device and say, I'm gonna run outside to talk to someone. No. What we're trying to do is adapt to change. I want you to take the information that you found from a reliable source and then say, oh my God, they have identified the change. How can I apply this to my life to evolve so that I can elevate? Hopefully that makes sense to you. The last one is learning. You must learn for the future. Learning for the future is almost thinking of yourself as an explorer. Here's the examples. What are you preparing for you or preparing you for your future? So, what is preparing you to face the future? Can you anticipate future needs? For all of my business owners, you're wondering, how can I scale my business? Why isn't my business growing? The question is, are you anticipating the future needs? Because I'm sad to say, Walmart has you beat right now. Target has you beat right now. They have already identified the things that are needed today. The question is, what's going to be needed for tomorrow? Okay, that's what you need to do. Are you starting to use poor information? Remember, we talked about that. This idea that, yeah, I don't have all of it, but are you using what you do have? Some of it. Are you being like that woman with just a flask of olive oil and saying, I'm going to use what I have? Oftentimes we're not. Are you expecting the unexpected? This is all about learning the future. Learning the future is things happens in patterns and trends. Guess what? Right after COVID and we got all the stimulus money, if you knew me, I was talking about the roaring 20s. Well, that was happening in 1920 when people had a injection of capital and they started buying all of this stuff on installment plans. And then I said, oh man, that's going to lead to deflation over time, or maybe an economic depression or recession. Well, guess what? They're now saying that. They're saying because inflation got so high, the Federal Reserve had to hike the interest rates. Now they're projecting that we may not have this soft landing that we all been talking about. And so they're trying to brace and pull levers. The question for you is, are you learning for the future? Are you thinking long term as well as short term? And we're going to talk about that today. How can you start using the information to think for the long term and the short term? So when we talk about finding information, let's go with the scripture here. For wisdom is more profitable than silver. What is wisdom? Applied knowledge. So I'll say it again. For wisdom is more profitable than silver, and her wages are better than gold. This is Proverbs 3:14, New Living Translation. What am I telling you? That information can lead to more than money. You need to know that. Money is important. Money is a tool. It's a resource to help you live a better life. But your wisdom, your knowledge can expand further than money. It can go even further than just green. It can lead into stocks. It can lead into real estate. It can lead into business. It can lead into a healthier lifestyle. It can lead into a healthier marriage. It can lead into a lot of things. Knowledge is more profitable. Okay, wisdom is more profitable. Information is more profitable. So here's ways to find information. One way is horizon scanning. Horizon scanning. In the most simplest terms, horizon scanning is identifying things to come. I'll say it again. At the most simplest terms, horizon scanning is identifying things to come. If you recall in Future Smart, I said individuals must understand that it's the learning process, becoming aware of trends and partaking action to best navigate through the future, and becoming predictive and adaptive for the future. As you begin to learn how to horizon scan, meaning I need to know what's on the horizon, I need to know what's a mile ahead of me, you will begin to make better choices. In other words, you need to be able to gather information concerning the internal and external environment. What's going on in your house, in your family, in your finances, and then what's going on outside of your house, in your community, in your state, in your country, in the international system, what's going on economically, what's going on technologically, what's going on environmentally, what's going on politically, right? You can't just stand on the sidelines. This is an election year. What's going on politically, because it will affect you, believe it or not. Even if you don't vote, there's some repercussions to whoever gets into the office. I hope you know that. We're starting to see that with abortion changes. We're starting to see that with affirmative action. We're starting to see that with interest rates. We're starting to see that right here in Florida with teacher salary. So no matter who you voted for, and it's not just voting for the governor. How about that House delegate? How about that state senator? Because those are the ones creating the laws. Those are the ones that are passing the pieces of legislation that the governor is going to sign. What I'm telling you is you're going to have to horizon scan. You're going to have to start to look at things from a different point of view, not just internally, what is in my house, but externally. And so here are some different ways to do that. One way is the steeple. And I talked about this before, steeple. Steeple is an acronym which stands for social, technological, economic, environmental, political, legal, and ethical forces. Steeple allows an organization and individuals to have a framework to gather the necessary information and data to predict the external environment. Let me say that again. What is the Steeple tool to do? It's there to help not only individuals, but also organizations have a framework to gather the necessary information. So when you talk about information, it's not enough just to know what you want to know, but you need to know the social forces that are out there that you're going to deal with. You're sending your kids to school. You're going to work with people. Guess what? What you say can get you in trouble. Yeah, if you want to be an effective manager or leader, you need to know the social dynamics that's going on around you. It's not enough for you to just say, I'm going to just be me. I'm a Judeo-Christian believer. I'm a espouse to these principles. And guess what? If they don't listen to me, they're going to get it. No. That is not the social environment today. In fact, there's louder voices than the Judeo-Christian perspectives. It's sad to say, but it's the truth. In fact, did you remember they took prayer out of school? Did you remember not even a year ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, that they had someone in the Supreme Court for praying in the middle of the field or in the end zone with his players? What I'm telling you to do, what I'm telling you today is you need to be aware of the social forces, the technological forces. Did you know companies are trying to find more machine learning and AI to help make decisions within your organization? You think you're going to be the decision maker? No, you're going to use a tool called AI to assist you in making future decisions. Economic forces. Are we in deflation? Are we in inflation? When is it time to buy a house? When is it time to sit on the sideline? When is it time to put my money in the bank? When is it time to put my money into stocks? If you're not aware of those, you're going to be the person that's saying, oh man, see, they, them. No, my job today is to get you to say, you, me, I will make this decision based on this, that, and the other. Environmental forces. It's not good enough that you smell some smoke in the air or you smell like it's a gas leak out here. Something's going on, and you just to say, well, oh well. No, how about you get involved? You try to figure out maybe that company that just built this manufacturing site is not following all of the EPA guidelines that is here. Maybe they're not following the OSHA guidelines, the parts per million that says you should only put this much emission into the air. Maybe you need to get involved. Maybe you need to say that external force can encroach on my internal force, and so I need to be aware. I need to gather more information. Political forces, we talked about. Legal forces. This is very important. When things happen to you in society, someone hits your vehicle, your employer decides to fire you because you did something, you reported somebody. No, legal forces is you can take legal action. I remember a gentleman years ago I knew, and he was telling me what happened to him. And I told him, I think you have a case. You might want to consult a lawyer. And he ended up getting compensated. He's no longer working with that organization, but they still had to pay him as if he was. What is that? Legal forces. Ethical forces. Is things changing? Oftentimes we will experience ethical dilemmas throughout life. It's just a way of life. You're going to be involved in things that may present ethical dilemmas. The question is, are you going to have the integrity to deal with it? Do you even know what that means? Do you even know what type of ethical dilemmas that you can anticipate in your future? I know plenty of them. I worked in higher education, and I remember when laws were changing in the state of Florida, where they said we want to have these type of restrooms and this type of restroom. Those are ethical dilemmas that will be presented to me in my administrative role that I needed to be able to get ahead of and anticipate. If you can do that, you will elevate your life. Moving forward. Here's an example of another tool. We're still talking about horizon scanning. We talked about the steeple tool. Now we're talking about the futures wheel. The futures wheel. When we talk about the futures wheel, first I want to tell you what it is. A futures wheel is a way to be predictive. What does it do? It's a brainstorming technique that maps out every idea that is related to an issue. This idea came from Dr. Edward Cornish. What is the futures wheel? It's a brainstorming technique that maps out every idea that is relevant and that is related to an issue, including sub-issues. These ideas can be mapped out on paper, whiteboard, or any location. The goal is to think of every relevant topic and connect those dots to the original problem. For an example, look at this example. The problem being discussed today of securing the southwest border. Maybe you're not aware. Maybe you haven't seen it on the news, but politically, this is all they're talking about now. If they're not talking about Donald Trump in court, they're talking about the southwest border, securing the border. Notice how securing the U.S. border is in the middle. And every relevant problem to that original issue is mapped out. The futures wheel is an excellent tool and an excellent approach in highlighting possible consequences and secondary consequences. So here we go. Securing the U.S. border connects to more funding for the federal law enforcement agencies to include ICE, CBP, right? It's also connected to new equipment and technology. For an example, they want drones now at the southwest border. They want more cameras that have infrared systems on it. Notice how new laws need to be created. Isn't that what Congress now, believe it or not, I created this futures wheel about 4 years ago. Now we're seeing legislation. How was I able to anticipate and be predictive of that? Well, the futures wheel has you map out every thought. Sometimes in life, we're thinking, but we can't map it out. This gives you a way to map out every idea and see how it's relevant. Also connected to this idea of solving this issue is decrease the number of illegal crossings. Believe it or not, we had over 7 million illegal crossings since the Biden administration. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is now they're talking about decreasing it. That was on my futures wheel 4 years ago. Workforce and labor. Did you know right now the Biden administration is trying to give 2.5 million visa workers working visas to undocumented immigrants? Why should we even consider that? And notice it can go on and on and on and on. The futures wheel is a wonderful tool that you can utilize to map out your ideas. What is an example of that? Say you have an income issue, a financial problem in your household. I will put financial issues in the middle and then map out every thought on paper, then do second consequences to that thought until you get to a pathway of navigating to solving that issue. Futures Wheels is a great tool. When people say, I want to do this as a career goal, and this is going to be homework for the future today, but I will put your career goals in the middle of the futures wheel. And then out of that futures wheel, I would talk about 10 ways to get to your career goals. And then from those 10 ways, I talk about how to navigate to get to that goal. And what you will find out is you already have skills and talents and abilities that you already have that you're not thinking about that will lead you to your career goals. It gives you a pathway. I'll say it again. It gives you a pathway to getting to where you want to go. Let's go to the next one. So here we go. We're almost done here. We're talking about the exercise of letting down your nets challenge. So I'm going to talk about what the challenge is, and then I'm going to give you the challenge. So the let down your nets challenge is this idea of going back to the biblical ways of doing things, where King Melchizedek spoke a good word over Abraham. Abraham then goes out to go get his nephew Lot with 300 servants. He's fighting 5 different kingdoms that are all allied together, hundreds of soldiers that they got to fight. It's almost like the 300 movie. And Abraham actually defeats those 5 kingdoms to get his nephew Lot back. And once he got him back, guess what comes with defeating someone? Spoils. So it's all of this stuff out here. And the kings actually want to get some of their stuff back. He gives them some of their stuff back. He still has some of the stuff, and he gives 10% to King Melchizedek. He sows a seed into him. He says, thank you for that good word. The word of God was on me. I was able to do what I needed to do. Here you go. Well, that's what the let down your nets challenge is. The let down your net challenge is going to what Jesus did with the Apostle Peter. Jesus told Peter, let's go back out there and fish again. Peter complained, I toiled all night. That's you right now. You're saying I'm doing everything I can. It's still not working. I applied for 21 jobs and it doesn't seem like it's working. This is for you. Maybe the jobs you're applying for is not in your field. Maybe it's not the right time for you to work in that particular industry. Maybe they're looking for entry level and you're not entry level, you're mid-management. So bring you in there is going to cause more harm than good. Well, this is the idea. The casting down or letting down your nets is doing what Jesus told him to do. Jesus told him, go back out there. And then when he got to a certain, he said, go to the deep. Okay, Peter's not believing in it, just like you're not right now. And you're going to throw down your raggedy, old, used nets. The ones, not the new ones, the old ones. You're going to say, I'm going to just try it. This guy don't know what he's talking about. He's just talking. He's wasting time now. So he throws down his nets. And next minute, you know, Peter catch a boat sinking load of fish. How do we know the boat is sinking? It said it was sinking. And then Peter had to shout out to his partners to bring their boats, and it filled those boats. What I'm telling you is, in this challenge, I'm asking you to apply yourself. Do the things that you just learned today. Try it. If it works for you, if it works for you, if it works for you, don't give me the financial thank you. Give it to Family with Faith Church. That's what I'm asking. Give it to Family with Faith Church so that we can continue to upbuild God's kingdom. I'm here providing you free information. I'm here to give you research that I paid for. Yes, I was a doctoral student who spent countless hours learning and learning and learning and writing and doing research and seminars and presentations and workshops. And I'm gathering some of that information and I'm targeting it to you to make this practical so that you can let down your net. You can win and elevate in your life. And with that elevation, so if you were making a $50,000 and you apply 1 or 2 things that I said, and now you're making $100,000, I'm asking you to take that $50,000 times it by 0.10, whatever that number is, which is $5,000. I'm asking you to sow that $5,000 seed into Family with Faith Church. What that does is that helps us continue on. That helps us say, yes, God is right, because we know he's right, and we can continue on. We can pay for better streaming equipment. We can actually do conferences, because guess what? I'm sorry, the Hyatt and Marriott World Center, it's not just going to say, yeah, you can utilize our room. They want compensation. They want some payment, and we can utilize those seeds to pay. Number 2, the goal is that once you let it down, you know it works. Now you're informed. I will call you a learned man. So let's talk about this challenge. In this challenge, I'm asking you to complete a futures will concerning your occupational future. At the center, place your career goals. If it's goals or goal, put it in the middle. Then from that middle, list at least 10 ways you can prepare for reaching that goal. So now you're branching out 10 times from that center career goal. And then once you do that, I want you to branch out further and list at least 3 ways of navigating through that preparation phase for each 10. So you got one big circle, 10 lines to medium circles, and then 3 lines for each medium circle to small circles. What that process will do is show you, number one, the things you currently have that can lead you to your career goal. Some of us are finicky. We're changing every day. It didn't work. You don't know if it worked because you haven't mapped it out. You're building a house, but your fields is not prepared, and you definitely did your planning. A Futures Will is a planning tool. You will have a large project board. Go to Walmart. It only costs $1. Don't buy that drink, that Long Island iced tea, whatever you're drinking, that Coca-Cola. Don't buy it. Go to Walmart. Get one of them project boards, those flimsy little papers that is very large. Put in the center your career goal, then 10 lines from that medium circles with the preparation to reach that goal, and then 3 from each 10, 3 smaller circles of the ways to navigate to that preparation phase. If you do that, I guarantee you that you have skills just like that lady with the flask, or you have something, and that gives you a clear path on how to make it to your career goal. The whole goal of the F.I.T.S Seminar is so that you can elevate your lives. Now I want to leave you with a word. Here's the word. No. In all things, we are more than conquerors through him who loves us. That's Romans 8:37, New International Version. That's my challenge for you today. Now I will open it up for a Q&A. We have 15 minutes left. If we end early, that's on you. We end early. So please go ahead and share your questions in the comment section. It doesn't matter if it's on YouTube, if it's on Facebook, if it's on Twitter. We have individuals monitoring those apps, and they will present your question in real time, and I will gladly answer it. But as you prepare for your questions, I will go back to the Futures Will one more time so that you can see what it looks like. You will branch out from the bigger circle in the middle to creating 10 medium circles, and then you will go from there to making 3. So if you have one of these like new federal laws and it's not 3 branching out, I'm sorry, you didn't follow instructions. You need to have at least 3 into how to prepare yourself for that phase. So it's important. If you do that, it will be a clear line to what you need to do. It will be very clear. And that will help you. I do this on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis with individuals, and they'd be like, oh my God, I see how I can do it. And that's what we want to hear. Aha moment, the aha, I can do this. Are there any questions and comments? And I will give you another 30 seconds. If I don't see any questions or comments, we will end early, and I will give you the gift of time back because this is your summer. This is your weekend. My apologies. I'm looking forward to summer. Any questions or comments? No questions, no comments. Thank you so much for your time. If you're ever in the Orlando area and you want to join us at our face-to-face service on Sunday, we meet every first and third Sunday. You can go to our website, familywithfaithchurch.com, familywithfaithchurch.com. If you would like some notes and feedback, I do recall that I did not send out any notes. My apologies on that. I did not send out the previous PowerPoint. If you would like that PowerPoint, please email us at familywithfaithchurch@gmail.com, familywithfaithchurch@gmail.com, and I will go ahead and send you the PowerPoints. Thank you so much for joining me. You have an awesome day, and I see you on the next F.I.T.S Seminar. You may ask, where can I find that information? familywithfaithchurch.com. Have a good day. Thank you so much.